Hi, my name is Tara Frichtel, and today I'm going to present you with the history, the evolution, the modern technology, the modern uses, and the pros and cons of something we all know, the cell phone. First, I'm going to start you off with a brief history and the evolution behind the cell phone. Cellular phones, or cell phones as I am going to call them in this presentation, were at first bulky and expensive. They required heavy batteries and were often designed to be connected to the batteries of cars. Cell phones at first produced and received simple AM radio waves. If channels were busy, you had to ask to listen in on other conversations of other users. The first cell phone call was made by Martin Cooper on April 3, 1973. According to a CNN article, before this phone call, mobile phones had already existed in automobiles. However, Cooper, the general manager of Motorola Communications Systems Division, decided people did not want to be stuck using stationary phones like those in automobiles. He wanted the cell phone to be truly portable, so people could use them anywhere. The cell phone Cooper used to make this first true cell phone call from the streets of New York resembled a brick and weighed 2.5 pounds. Cell phones, thankfully, have continued to evolve since the phone of Cooper's. It was not until 1983 before a commercial handheld cell phone was sold for $3,995. The Dynatac 8000X weighed 1.7 pounds, was 13 inches tall, could only store 30 numbers, and took 10 hours to recharge. In 1989, Motorola then released the Microtech 9800X as the first official portable cell phone that could fit into a coat pocket. Motorola then released the International 3200, which was the first digital hand-sized cell phone. In 1993, the IBM Simon was the first PDA phone combination. In 1996, Motorola released the first clamshell cell phone, the StarTAC. It also had the first display screen on a cell phone. Also in 1996, the Nokia 9000 communicator came onto the market. It was the first smartphone series. In 1999, the Benefon ESC was the first cell phone that had a GPS available on it. It was mostly used in Europe. Also in 1999, the Samsung SPH-M100 Uproar was the first cell phone to be able to use MP3 music on it, and the Nokia 3210 had an internal antenna and a predictive T9 text messaging. In 2001, the Nokia 5510 had a full keyboard and could hold up to 64 megabytes of music. The Ericsson T39, the first cell phone with Bluetooth, and the Ericsson T68, the first cell phone with a color screen, were also released in 2001. In 2002, the first camera phone, the Sony SCP-5300, was sold. In 2005, the HTC Universal was released as the first 3G PC phone and the first to come with Windows Mobile. In 2007, the iPhone was released. It had an auto-rotate sensor, a multi-touch sensor with the ability to ignore minor touches, with a touchscreen interface that replaced the keyboard. Apple then released the iPhone 3G in 2008. I just happen to still be using the iPhone 3G. The iPhone 3G still has the auto-rotating sensor, like the original iPhone, It still has the multi-touch sensor with the ability to ignore minor touches, with a touchscreen interface that replaced the keyboard. The iPhone 3G also has apps they can download from the App Store. Now that I have hit some of the major cell phone innovations over the past couple decades, I'm going to explain the modern technology behind the cell phone. The modern technology behind the cell phone is pretty complex, so I'm going to try to give you just a basic overview. Cell phones are basically really sophisticated radios that send and receive signals. A system has been set up for people using cell phones so they can communicate with one another without colliding with other signals. Through this system, people across a city can use cell phones simultaneously. These cities are broken up into cells. These cells are usually a 10-mile radius. Each of these cells has a base station which contains a tower and a small building for radio equipment. The cell phone system requires many base stations in a city of any size. Each cell has about 56 voice channels available. This means 56 people can be talking on their cell phone at one time. The number of available channels increases with the digital transmission method. Also, cell phones have special codes associated with them. These codes are used to help identify the phone's user, and the phone's service provider. The cell phone goes through a process in order to receive a call. When you first turn on your phone, it looks for an SID on the control channel. This is a frequency that the phone and base station use to communicate with one another. If a phone is out of range, it displays a no service message. When the phone receives the SID code, the cell phone then compares it to the code programmed into the phone. If the SIDs match, the phone knows it is communicating with its home system. The cell phone, when it is turned on, also sends a registration request, and the MTSO, which is the Mobile Telephone Switching Office, keeps track of your phone's location in a database for when you receive a call. When the MTSO gets the call, it tries to find you by looking in that database to see which cell you are in. The MTSO will then pick a frequency pair for your phone to use in the cell to take the call. The MTSO tells your phone through a control channel which frequencies to use, and once your phone and the tower switch frequencies, the call is connected and it is like you're talking with the other person on a two-way radio. Now don't worry. If you move towards the edge of your cell, the base station takes note. It then coordinates with another base station through the MTSO so the phone can change frequencies. On top of this complex technology needed to connect cell phone calls, the cell phone device itself is pretty complex. Now I don't know if you've ever seen the inside of a cell phone, but the inside of a cell phone contains a circuit board, which is basically the brains of the whole entire phone. It also contains an antenna, a liquid crystal display, a keyboard, a microphone, a speaker, and a battery. The circuit board is the main part of the phone, as I have said. The circuit board has several computer chips which translate incoming and outgoing audio. They also perform signal manipulation calculations at a very high speed. The antenna helps send and receive signals. RF amplifiers handle these signals traveling to and from the antenna. The display on phones continues to grow and get bigger. It also contains many features, including a list of contacts, calculators, games, and even web browsers. Now the cell phone speakers and microphones are really small on the phone. In many phones, a speaker is about the size of a dime, and the microphone is no larger than a watch battery. With this sophisticated technology that I just explained, both with the connection and with the technology within the phone itself, the cell phone can now serve many uses for its owners. Uses can range from making a phone call to checking email. Cell phones, or as many of them are called now, smartphones, have been on the rise the last few years. Smartphones are light and can fit in your hand or your shirt pocket or purse. All smartphones have similar features. They all have an attractive screen display, a keyboard with either virtual or real keys, email connectivity, internet connectivity, and other web-based functions. Applications can also be added to the smartphone to serve as a wide range of uses for almost any user. Smartphones serve as a way for people to stay connected. The cellular network helps you stay connected to the internet. Smartphones can also integrate with wireless networks like the office or home networks to share data. Smartphones also have Bluetooth connection. Bluetooth connection allows communication in automobiles to be a lot easier. It becomes hands-free through the car's speakers and built-in microphone. Bluetooth connection also allows the phone to be connected wirelessly to other electronics. Music can be stored and played on smartphones for people who want to listen. Photos and videos can be taken and recorded and stored on a smartphone. They can be uploaded to the internet sites like YouTube and Facebook straight from the phone. As a journalism major, I often find myself using my cell phone as my main camera. I've actually sold my digital camera because I no longer used it. It became easier for me just to carry my cell phone around instead of a digital camera. I only use my cell phone camera and my recorder and my professional camera when I go out. I also use my cell phone to help me with directions. Smartphones have GPS capabilities. On a smartphone, you can see a map, find directions, or locate the nearest restaurant or gas station. I have many personal uses for my cell phone or smartphone. I use it every day to make phone calls and texts. I also use it to access my email to make sure I'm up to date with classes and work. I use my cell phone to access my social media sites to keep connected with friends and family. I even use my cell phone at the gym to listen to music as I am working out. The functions of smartphones have expanded the use of cell phones from basic phone calls and texts to being basically a mini computer in the palm of your hand. With all these different functions, there are many pros and cons of cell phone use within our society. Cell phones have impacted romantic, business, and even social relationships both positively and negatively. People are better able to stay connected via the cell phone. Not only can we text and call others, we are also able to connect to the email, the web, and social media sites like Facebook. This allows us to stay connected with not just one person, like in a simple phone call, but with several people. Businesses are able to communicate quicker and easier with one another by being able to email, call, or access the web from almost anywhere, whether out on the job or sitting in the office or laying in bed at home. I also learned that despite quicker and easier communication cell phones bring to us, it also causes lack of face-to-face communication. It has been said that because people have become so dependent on communicating through the cell phone, in-person socialization skills are decreasing. Communicating via the cell phone can also cause miscommunication. Oftentimes, I'll send a text to a friend or family member, and because they cannot read my body in motion, they misread the whole text. This often causes problems with my friend or family member until I can further explain the text. There have been many studies about the dangers of cell phone use even. One particular danger is cell phone use while driving. Using the cell phone while driving has caused traffic accidents and even traffic fatalities. Cell phones have also been studied to see if they have been linked to certain types of cancers. People have to be aware of all of these advantages and disadvantages of the cell phone in order to use it properly. The cell phone has grown from the not exactly grown, but evolves from the 2.5-pound brick Cooper used to make the first phone call to a smartphone that could take pictures, access the web, and even find directions. The cell phone is an important part of our everyday life, proving to be useful. However, we do have to be aware of its disadvantages and dangers.